Welcome back. Coinciding with the World Day for Fighting Corruption, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi launched 6 years ago the State Initiative to Fight Corruption. To shed more light on this initiative, its policies, its ideas, its way to be implemented on the ground, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Mohamed Talaat, international attorney, legislative and constitutional expert. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Hi.
Sir, we were speaking about this initiative which was launched by President el-Sisi 6 years ago to fight corruption, coinciding with the International Day. How do you see this initiative on the ground? To what extent it was successful and its ways to be implemented were really fruitful, taking into consideration that we are fighting a global phenomenon, not something only related to Egypt?
Thank you very much. Fighting corruption is one of the goals or one of the aims that the government of Egypt, headed by President Sisi, is trying to achieve in order to circumvent any illegalities or any departure from the application of the law, particularly with respect to corruption. It is definitely a very constructive initiative on the part of the government, coinciding with the international concepts now prevailing worldwide with respect to fighting corruption everywhere. And it is worthwhile mentioning that the United Nations had adopted a treaty for fighting corruption a number of years ago, and I am sure that the government of Egypt will implement also the terms and conditions that are contained in such agreement with respect to the initiative currently in place. So it is a worldwide movement, and we are on the move with it.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And to add to what you're saying, if you permit me, I mentioned also fighting corruption as a global phenomenon. I mean, in many occasions, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, when Egypt was presiding over the African Union, for example, he mentioned fighting corruption as one of the main goals of the EU, or the main goals to achieve prosperity in the Black Continent, for example. How do you see this? I mean, how do you see talking or thinking about corruption as a global phenomena, not a local or even regional phenomena?
Well, as you rightly said, I mean, we're part of fighting corruption as a global phenomenon.
Yep.
So it is not only in Egypt, it is worldwide, and it will be for the welfare of societies.
Yep.
that the fight of and circumvention of corruption would succeed. This would be for the best interest of the people and the best interest of the welfare of society. So it is not only an Egyptian phenomenon, it's a phenomenon everywhere, and the president is trying to adopt it. And of course, the fact that he mentioned it in the African unions, because unfortunately, in many occasions, they pinpoint to Africa as being a focal point with respect to corruption. So it is definitely a very rightful move to embark on fighting corruption with respect to the African continent. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, how do you see the importance of spreading awareness among people? I mean, as I said in my intro, you should not be a state official to fight corruption. The layman in the street can fight corruption, and the women, even the housewives, can fight corruption. Corruption has so many faces, there are so many sides of the coin. How do you see the role of media first, the role of us, and in the same time, how to convince even the simple citizen that he really or she really can have a vital role?
This would very much, in my opinion, depend on two factors. The first factor is, as you said, raising awareness through the media. And raising awareness would be by pinpointing that the laws and regulations in the country do support the fight of corruption. Laws and regulations do not permit corruption, and even the amendments, the continuous amendments, current amendments of the current government with respect to the laws and regulations are in the direction of fighting corruption. So this has to be relayed to the layman in order to understand that the laws and regulations of his own country does not permit corruption.
Yes.
This is something that the media has to play on. Media, when I say media, media in the broad sense, meaning the even the newspapers and so forth, in order to raise such an awareness. The second element, in my opinion, is the reception or the receptive attitude of the governmental authorities in charge whenever there is any report on corruption, and the expeditious manner of addressing it. So the by forwarding matters to the prosecutor and to the court, and seeing expeditious and judgments coming out of the courts with respect to any corruption move would definitely give a comfort to laymen that the society as a whole, including governmental and non-governmental elements of the society, are all working in the direction of combating corruption.
Sir, one final question. There are many who are saying that we do not need more laws or regulations to fight corruption. We only need to fiercely implement the law. And this is something which was the main issue of discussion in many of the meetings of or even the sessions, the forums, the legislative forums. We do not need to adopt more laws. We need to fiercely implement the already ratified laws. If you agree with that, and if so, what to do? What's our homework, I mean?
Well, I mean, you cannot just reduce it simply to such a slogan. It is important, of course, to implement and enforce the laws and regulations that are fighting corruption. This is absolutely important and crucial in order to combat corruption. However, the need of new laws and regulations will very much depend on the nature of the new or de novo corruption act that might come up, because as anybody should know, that a law by nature is an evolving rhythm. It doesn't stop. There is always an evolution with respect to the laws and regulations. So if there is a need of a new law in order to address a specific new element of corruption, then it would be important to enact such a law.
Then it's this kind of equation, or the balance between adopting new laws if needed and strictly implement all laws to fight this phenomenon.
The laws and regulations.
Well,
correct.
Dr. Mohamed Talaat, international attorney and legislative and constitutional expert, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. And by this, we come to the end of this episode of our breakfast show. Till we meet again, same time on Nile TV International with another crew. You were in the company of my dear colleague Amal Mukhtar and myself, Nermeen Abdurrahman. Many thanks for watching.